audio is horrible.
Yeah,
recording?
Why you gotta type in
it's
all
recording.
caps?
Yeah, why you gotta type all
I know.
caps?
She's shouting at me.
Rude.
She's
Guys,
shouting
you
at me. Mother, your audio is horrible. I mean, it's complicated. Vietnam, London. Salam and hello. My name is Lily Bekele Piper, and welcome to Uproot. This sound you just heard is the laughter of some of my guests who are members of the class of 2020. As this pandemic has continued to put a pause button on all of our plans, a group that has been particularly affected are seniors who are graduating across the country and across the world. Students have really had to relearn how to learn in the last few months, as teachers and administrators have had to recreate classrooms and instruction, in some places from scratch. So today I'm going to talk to 5 different groups of seniors who are all finishing secondary school and moving on to university. The first 3 students are members of international schools across the world. Selah, my own daughter, from Nairobi, Kenya. Troy White, who's based in London, England. And Matias Baleta, who is in Hanoi, Vietnam. After we talk to those 3 students, we zip across the Atlantic to talk with Jaya, who is a student in Nashville, Tennessee, and whose graduation is around the corner and is thinking about her future and her life with new eyes. And lastly, we come back to Nairobi to talk to Hillary, who is a Form 4 student in Kenyan school systems. The Kenyan school system runs from January to December, so Hillary has a bit of a different timetable, but very similar struggles as he looks towards the future. When we conducted these interviews, we used a bunch of different remote recording applications, and some are better than others. So please bear with me on the sound. Stay with the episode. I think you'll really enjoy it, and please pardon all the little bumps in the noise that you might hear. I have been missing from the podcast world the last month as I have focused on my life and work and family, and I've missed sharing episodes with you. But I'm back now, and I look forward to the next few weeks with new episodes that I'll be sharing. And thank you for your patience and listening to Uproot. And I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation with the class of 2020. Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Doing well.
Hello.
Doing good.
Doing good. So we have London, Hanoi, and Nairobi live in the house, in the virtual house anyways. Welcome, Matias, Troy, and Selah. Why don't we start with Matias? Tell us your name, what school you go to, and the city you live in.
My name is Matias Baleti. I go to United Nations International School of Hanoi in Hanoi, Vietnam. I've been here for around 7 years.
And Matias, this is the 5th city you've lived in? Is that right?
5th city. Yes, it is the 5th city.
Where else have you lived in your young life?
I lived in the United States. Then I moved to China and Beijing. Then New Delhi, India, Nairobi, Kenya, and now Hanoi, Vietnam.
All right. Karibu, Matias.
Thank you.
Mr. White.
Yes, my name is Troy White. I live in London now. I used to live in New York and then Nairobi, where I met you guys, and then now I'm here in London.
All right, top of the morning. Maybe top of the afternoon. Maybe, I don't know.
Yes, afternoon.
All right, and you, Miss Madame.
Hi, I'm Selah Piper. I live in Nairobi, Kenya, and I go to the International School of Kenya.
And where have you lived previous?
Well, we've been here for the past 9 years, but before here we were in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and before then I lived for a couple of years in the US.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Today's episode is all about the class of 2020 and how you guys are facing this pandemic. All of you, once upon a time, were classmates here in Kenya, but now you are 3 different continents. So I'm looking forward to this conversation because I think all of your experiences might be similar, but really unique. So, Matias, let's start with you. Of course, we know that COVID-19 started in Wuhan, China, which is not far from you as a border to Vietnam. Tell us how the last few months have been for you and your school community in Hanoi.
Overall, because Vietnam reacted to the situation very quickly, it's been pretty good, despite the fact that we have been under mandatory quarantine. We have been not being able to attend school for the past around 2.5 months now. But overall, the way the Vietnamese government reacted, I think many Vietnamese citizens and everybody lives and the residents here are very happy with the situation in terms of our health and safety.
So let me just follow up. So you have been online learning for 2.5 months. You probably
Yes.
were one of the first countries to go into a more lockdown situation, and you've come in and out, right? So give us the current situation, and maybe the last month. What does that look like for you?
So about a month and a week ago, we went back to school for about a week because the COVID-19 situation had gotten a lot better. Vietnam was at 16 cases and hadn't seen a new one in the past 7 days, so they reopened. Just our school was one of the only schools to open back. But then a few days later, there was an outbreak of around 10 cases, and that caused the school to close down again. And then from there, it just started gradually increasing. But now, yesterday, they just released us off of mandatory quarantine, and they've opened the city up in small businesses.
Wow. So you've gone from mandatory quarantine to now it's really open, or is there a curfew?
No, it's slow. It's slowly opening back up. Small businesses are opening, but it's still everything's social distancing. You should be at home late at night. It's a soft opening.
Soft opening. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to come back to you because I can imagine how you're feeling now after 2.5 months of basically being locked up, how you must be feeling now. So we'll come back to you on that. Troy, over there in London,
Yes.
tell me what your situation is currently and what your learning situation is.
I mean, personally, this quarantine has been going on for about a month now, and it's been different. It's just like, it's nothing that you can really explain unless you live in it. You know, you just, every day kind of feels like one continuous day, and you just keep doing it. And then, you know, you just kind of lose track of time and days, and only holidays kind of like remind you of what month it is or anything like that. So like you're like in Easter and you, oh yeah, it's April, it's Easter. But like otherwise, every day seems like the same. You know, you just keep yourself busy and everything. But in regards to the businesses, like small businesses, like Matthias is saying, are opening back up. Like the Pret across the street is open back up for delivery. Most like food spots, if they aren't closed and they're opening, they're just opening back up for delivery.
Okay.
I really think that in this economy, the Amazon workers and the delivery people are getting the most work out of anybody because everybody's delivering stuff home.
Well, we're definitely redefining who is essential in this process.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you been online learning also? Is your school situation online basically? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been online, yeah.
All right. Selah, how about you? What's the situation in Kenya?
When getting things under control, I think, you know, they obviously haven't done the full lockdown yet because they're trying to figure out a way to teach people and make sure that all these people who are in, you know, highly densely populated informal settlements, and how to take care of them, how to feed them and everything. So that's been a bit of a slower process. But I mean, schools have been shut down. Uber has been shut down from certain hours. There's a curfew. You know, there's all these things that happened quite quickly, in my opinion. So I would say the response here has actually been pretty impressive.
So Matthias, let me ask you, when your school first started canceling events, I remember talking to your mom, who's my dear friend, about your basketball tournament was canceled and school started to shift to online, but the rest of the world yet hadn't started to do this. I remember texting her back being like, oh, that sucks, I'm so sorry. But I didn't really have any fears of anything happening in Kenya. So what was your reaction to those early cancellations when you're watching the rest of the world kind of continue on, you know?
Yeah. Like that was mid-January. So it was very early on, and we got the information first towards the beginning of January from our basketball coach. He's the head of the athletics department at our school. So he was saying, and he's the head of the activities that manage the international tournament we play in. And he was saying he had just come off a meeting about possibly canceling the tournament due to this virus in China. And none of us had heard about it. And this was just fresh off of practice. So everybody was like, oh, we just laughed it off. Like, oh, there's no way that's going to happen. Come 2 weeks, we get the email that they've canceled the whole tournament. But that's also because we have to keep in mind that the 3 of the schools which we were going to play against were from mainland China. So that was a big proponent in canceling it. Yeah. That was one of the main reasons. So I guess.
How did you feel? What kind of emotions did that initially evoke in you?
Well, we knew it was for safety reasons, and there's really nothing we could do but putting a lot of work into like a 3-month long season. That was, say, the end of that was already 2 months completed. It's really hard to deal with, especially because we thought it was our year to perform in the tournament, and it was hosted in Hanoi at our home.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult to deal with, but we had to see the reasoning behind the choice.
Right. So, Troy, in the UK was similar to the US, a little bit slow to react to some of the initial warnings. So, how did you kind of first hear about it, and what were your first reactions to this major shift in your life and your school life?
Honestly, the first time I heard about it is just on the internet and everything like that, but you didn't think that it was going to be that serious. Like, I thought it was going to be like, okay, so when I say that serious, I mean like it wasn't going to affect us personally. Like, I thought it would just be on the news and, you know, just be in other places and just not really come here. Like how, for instance, like how Ebola was on the news and everybody was talking about it and everybody was scared, but it never reached like a worldwide outbreak that, you know, created a quarantine and all that stuff. I was just like, oh yeah, people are gonna be scared and it's gonna be over. And then our basketball coach, Mateus's coach, came to us and was like, oh yeah, by the way, your tournament is canceled.
Wow, this is interesting. It's the coaches have played a big role in this. I mean, should have had your coaches on this call.
They break the information.
They're breaking the bad news here, left and right. They broke the
information. And he started talking about, he gave us this long, convoluted story about like patience and all this different stuff. And we were like, what is this about? And he was like, oh yeah, by the way, the tournament's canceled. Wow. That I was very...
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. So, Selah, for you, when did it start to hit you that this wasn't just going to be like a temporary situation, that this might last longer? And how did that feel?
I mean, I guess one of the first things that happened was we had like made plans for one of my best friends' 18th birthday celebration kind of thing, and we were gonna all get together, just the typical thing, and it was literally the week after we had the first case, and so we couldn't really all be gathering because we just weren't sure about what the situation was. There was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, and so I remember like when that first happened, because I hadn't had to cancel anything really yet, I was just super disappointed, and it made me definitely really sad, really scared, because none of us knew what was going on. None of us knew how long it would last. And then I can say also when they made the announcement for you can't leave Nairobi, like you have to stay within Nairobi, because we all kind of thought that was going to be when they said, okay, now everything is locked down. And so that's probably would help the virus pass through quicker, because they hadn't announced that lockdown yet. That's when I was like, okay, so this means I'm probably not going to get to do my graduation. This means all this stuff. So yeah, that's definitely another big moment when I was like, all right, this is going to take longer than we thought, maybe.
Yeah. So it's not a small thing to lose these milestones, whether it's an 18th birthday or, a tournament that you finally are hosting at home, and this is kind of your moment after being underclassmen. How are you staying positive through this? You guys are young. The world is ahead of you. This is kind of your moment. How are you keeping your head up? Anybody have a secret sauce for staying positive?
Secret sauce for staying positive. I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
Just focusing on things that I think we glossed over this in the last talk, but just trying to stay focused on things that you wouldn't otherwise have like the time or ability to do with the quarantine. Like I know Troy does music. Selah has her own service learning. Like I have a fashion brand I'm working on. So just being able to do things like that and focus on, even if it's just like not being able to physically go out and make moves on that, just being able to be home and just processing work like that.
Okay.
That's how I've been trying to stay
positive. Okay. Yeah. Troy, how are you staying positive, and how is the family life day in and day out 24/7 in the White household?
My family is never boring. We're always doing, stuff. We're going through the Marvel movie marathons and all that, and it was cool. We're doing family games and everything like that, because that's what life really is looking forward to stuff. So if I know that when I'm leaving the living room, I'm like, all right, man, I get to go make music. Like, it keeps you like looking forward to stuff the next day.
Yeah, I like how you said when I'm leaving the living room. Have you seen the memes of like the new airport codes are like LVM or something for living room and BTH for bathroom? You know, like those are the destinations we're going to. Sayla, how about for you? How has, you know, we have a big family, 4 siblings. This is rare for us to all be in the same house for so much time. How are you coping with that new normal?
Well, I mean, as far as staying positive, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm very positive about the situation. We're all going to college in the fall, and this would have been a time where like studying for exams and still, you know, stressing out every day. So at the same time, I am getting to spend a lot more time with my siblings and with my parents. And, you know, I'm doing like different things with my brother. I'm working out with my brother. I'm, you know, getting to hang out with my sister and watch TV and whatever. And so, I mean, it is kind of nice to be able to invest that time in my family, especially since I'm not going to be with them.
How are you staying connected to friends?
Yeah, I've been using mostly Instagram probably, but then to reach with old friends, like typically through games.
Okay.
Or, you know, just normal face. I'm just trying to stay connected. But I think mostly like after exams were canceled, I don't know about Troy or Sale, but like I used to not play video games because of IB, and now I've been back to playing.
Yeah, nah, I've been playing because for what?
Yeah, exactly, for what?
For what? I'm playing. Yeah, like talking to people, staying up late, and then waking up late. Because why not?
Why not? Why not?
What reason do I have to get up at 9 a.m.?
This is very true. Yeah, Matthias, you mentioned games. I mean, I think there seems to be like a real resurgence of like online. I hope Sayla doesn't mind me mentioning. I think is it Pictionary or some kind of version of Pictionary that you and a bunch of classmates were playing?
Oh, we play Scribble.
Scribble.
Oh, tough.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's, you know, it seems like a pretty simple approach, but it's provided a way to connect with people, which is important during this time.
Who your real friends are, because like there's people who you realize that you kind of need distractions in order to talk to them. Like you always need an event or something to talk to them, or you need something that's going on. But like you'll realize like there's some people you really have nothing to talk about, and y'all sit on that call for like 2 minutes just staring at each other and just like, this is awkward. I guess we not as good friends as we thought. And then you end that call and you just realize that it's maybe not what you thought it was. But
that's
not
really
for the
profound.
people that I have had conversations with. It's been good.
That's pretty profound. This is a weeding out process in some ways. Before you went to college, which it would have happened anyways as you went to college, but it's kind of like an early kind of sifting. Matthias, let me ask you, when, you know, we're talking about staying positive, but the fact of the matter is there have been a lot of cancellations. What's the situation in Hanoi? What have they, with the current news today about easing some restrictions, what is your school saying about senior events? Prom, graduation, any other kind of banquet events? What have you heard so far?
I was talking to the head of the board today, and she said that it's looking like school is going to be open for high school in the coming 1 or 2 weeks.
Wow.
So that's a big move. And for Vietnamese schools, there was a few articles 2 weeks ago talking about how the latest they were going to open was June 15th. So I think they'll be opening soon in the coming month. But today we just found out we had 2 new cases, but there hasn't been a new case in the past week and a half. So just the day after they open up, but it's not community
right.
not community spread. Okay. But nonetheless, it looks like school will be back to being open for high school in the next 2 weeks.
So it looks like there might be some hope for a bit of a senior year still remaining. Sayla, how about you?
The big one for me was also that our ICEA tournament was canceled for football, soccer. So ICEA is like a tournament with different schools across Southern and Eastern Africa. And so that one was a really big one for me because the sport itself means a lot to me. And also as a senior, you kind of have the sense of responsibility to kind of really work with those younger teammates and empower them so that next year when they go, they're the new leaders on this team. And so that kind of really, it made me really sad that I wouldn't be able to have that moment of leadership and lead something with them that they'd be able to carry next year. And then, also our prom was supposed to be yesterday. So that's another thing that we didn't get to do. I mean, I dressed up at home and my mom took pictures of me and I just walked around the backyard. But I know that those things were definitely a huge disappointment for us. And
yeah. No, I think that having our last sports games without knowing it, I think was really because it's one thing when you know it. Like if they had told us before the game, like, hey, we're not gonna have ISSTs, but they told us, oh, it might happen, it might not happen, we're not sure. And we're all like, bro, ISSTs is the biggest tournament, your tournament is the biggest tournament, I see it as the biggest tournament. You all just assume that it's gonna happen unless the world is literally on fire. And so you kind of don't really believe them when you're like, oh yeah, we're not gonna have this tournament, this is our last game. And then they tell you that they're gonna make other tournaments instead. Like for us, they were like, oh yeah, we're not gonna have ISSTs, but we're gonna have another tournament in its place. So we're like, this ain't our last game, we're good, don't worry about it. And then that tournament gets canceled. And then you're like, oh.
Yeah, this is it.
So that was my last game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you guys are making, number one, I'm impressed by your maturity, all of you, to kind of have this global perspective of we have to do our part, and our part is staying home. It's not having parties and all that. But at the same time, I think it's important to be honest. I read an article this week that talked about that heaviness that a lot of people are feeling is grief. It's like genuine grief over the loss of experiences and moments that you were anticipating. So like you said, Troy, if you had known and you could prepare mentally, you might have, this would have felt very different right now.
What was your reaction to the IB exam cancellation? That was a big deal globally because IB has never canceled exams before. Yeah. So how did you take that news?
I personally, I only take a couple IB class. I take an IB class, but I don't do the whole IB diploma because I also take APs.
Oh, okay.
So for me personally, it wasn't as big of a deal for me, but like seeing my friends who had been like working like really hard, or my friends who were counting on, doing well in the IB exams to now not have them. It just like kind of messes up because nobody thinks, you think that that's like a staple, something that's definitely going to happen. As our teachers, even in the AP, they were telling us like every day, it's going to be the biggest exam of your life.
So let me ask you, what's the AP doing? What's the AP doing?
Oh, yeah. So the AP, we're having exams, but now they're kind of pointless. Like, I mean, they're there. And they say that it's up to the discretion of the college on whether they're going to accept it or not. But it's a 45-minute exam with like 3 questions. I kid you not. Like it's basically like an in-class test. Like it doesn't, and it's online, and it's all based on like the honor system on whether kids actually cheat or not. And like it's basically like some kid can literally have his tutor sitting right next to him giving him all the answers.
Right.
So it's like. So it's kind of, I really don't see any college actually accepting like those scores unless like it's just, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. Sayla, how about for you? You are doing the IB diploma. How did you take the news of those exams being canceled?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely really, really shocking. And I mean, I'm going to the US for college, but a lot of my friends who are going to the UK have all these predicted that they have to meet in order to be accepted into the university. And so for a lot of them, they're thinking like, okay, now my grade's going to be based off all my past work. I don't think that I'm going to be able to meet that, whatever I was planning to meet it on the final, all this stuff. So there's definitely a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. I mean, I kind of wanted to be able to do them because I just like to finish things that I start. And I mean, I think that I would have done well, to be honest. So I was like, and it's like the last thing you're supposed to do before you graduate, and there's supposed to be this amazing like sense of relief when you're done,
Yeah.
And then instead, everything kind of just abruptly stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I think as somebody who's watching it happen to both my daughter and communities is the not knowing, like you didn't know the last time you were on the pitch was the last time, or you didn't know the last time you were at your lockers was the last time. So there's this abrupt nature to this whole pandemic, which is of course affecting everybody, students, families, weddings, nobody is unaffected by that abruptness. Let me ask you, how are the adults in your lives doing? How are the adults in your lives, whether it's coaches or parents or teachers? What are the messages that you're hearing that I think are been good and have helped you? And what are the things that maybe adults are getting wrong in this time as they are trying to support you, but maybe not quite succeeding? Anybody want to tackle that first?
I mean,
okay, Matias?
Like as far as for like my family goes, I feel like my mom has been she's felt a bit too bad like about the situation. It hasn't really kicked in. I don't know about Sailor or Troy, but for me, it hasn't really kicked in yet that like our senior year really has been changed. Like, and I haven't really I haven't had the time to think about like, oh, what it would have been. And obviously it does come back at times, but I think once we move away from this, like a month later, we're going to be like, wow, we really missed out on this, this, and this. Yeah. Right now we're kind of living in the moment. So as far as that goes, that helps keep up the positivity. But for our parents who see the bigger picture and they feel a bit more sad, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they're being positive. Just
I guess they well, I'm trying, Cindy, but I guess you're right. We know what was missed. We remember our senior year and those moments, exactly. So we can feel that loss. Troy, how about you? And maybe we'll take the shift off of parents because I know your parents and I know how committed they are to you and your sister. But generally, what are the messages from adults that you're hearing that either are positive and you think, yeah, I vibe with that, or you're thinking, no, adults are just missing it. They do not get us as a generation. I said the word vibe. Is that what you're laughing at?
That is funny.
I vibe with that.
Come on, vibe is that's a legit word, no?
Yeah, it is.
But you can't say it. Please don't ever do that again.
Yeah, I thought it was
just giving you.
I thought I had really arrived that me and class of 2020 were.
It was smooth. It was smooth.
Vibing. Okay, Troy. What are your thoughts on adults and the messages you're hearing, whether it's the media or teachers or, just generally, what are some of the messages for you that are either you're resonating with or just don't seem like they are at all connecting to you?
The only adults I have a problem with are the stupid adults that are in the streets in America with picket signs protesting quarantine. Those are the only adults I have a serious problem with.
Has this affected how you're looking at the future?
Personally, I mean, yes, definitely, especially looking towards the summer and as we're all going to college in the United States, given the situation right now, it definitely, I think for me personally, at least, it affects the way I'm looking at how I'm going to be able to go to college, if I'm going to be able to attend, and what the situation is going to be. Also, like it's made me choose to look more maybe for work instead of, because I know that the situation may be virtual learning or I may not be able to attend for the first semester.
Yeah.
Just been looking for jobs, which are
hard
to come by. Yeah, they are very hard to come by. Yeah. These jobs are very hard to come by in this quarantine economy, but I've applied for 5, so fingers crossed.
Yeah. So knowing that you will go to college.
For me, it's definitely kind of made me, I guess, more excited to go to college. At the same time, as much as I'm worried about getting that time in with my friends before I go, I think also because we haven't been able to do anything and school has been all messed up, now I'm like, okay, I get to actually look forward to going to college even more, I think. So that's definitely something that's changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that first freshman week,
it's gonna be wild.
Yeah,
is actually going to. I actually don't even know how to describe the feeling. If it's not, oh my gosh,
for sure.
I feel for colleges. So I wanted to ask you guys, what is the first thing you're gonna do once you get out of quarantine? What's on your not bucket list? I don't know what. It's not even a bucket list. It's just a list, maybe. First thing you're going to do. Okay, Selah?
Mother, can I say this on the podcast?
Whoa.
I mean, I guess say it now.
Selah. You got to say it now after you start with
all
that.
I'm going to say is me and my friends are going to go out and have the best night of our lives.
And have fun. Okay,
That's
have
it.
fun.
That's
Okay,
all I was
next
gonna-
person.
That's all I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
keep that PG. Goodness gracious, Taylor. That ain't me.
We all need to know.
Okay, whatever. Matthias, what's the first thing you're gonna do? What's the first thing you're gonna do?
I'm
Go
already
out
out of
tonight.
quarantine.
Oh my goodness, what are you doing today then?
I'm gonna study in my room.
Don't lie.
Whatever.
I will
What are
be
you
hanging
gonna
out with my friends. I mean, it's just being able to see friends and link up again is probably the main thing.
do? Okay.
Even though we were
Okay.
able to in the past week because it's been eased up.
Yeah.
But just being able to be with friends, I think that's the main thing. Yeah. And
Yeah.
being able to
Okay.
go to restaurants, that's another one.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah. Troy, how about you?
Man, I don't even know. I don't even want to
Kind of
answer that
forget
question.
at this point.
It's about like 10 different things I want to do, and I think I'm just gonna like try and do them all at once. I don't even know. I won't be in the house. I won't be in the house. I will be in the streets for like weeks
Yeah.
on end. I will come back when I don't know.
I won't be
That's
seen
no
at the
point.
house for the next week
So
after
I'm not being
quarantine.
seen.
You got to make up for all the hours in the house. Out of
Exactly.
I'm
That's
living
what
on
I'm
the streets after
Gotcha.
this thing is done.
Oh my goodness.
I'm
This is
living
gonna be a
between
whole
my
new
different friends'
crisis.
house. I'm serious.
When the teenagers are out, this is going to be a whole new crisis. I can see that, a whole new crisis.
I'm out.
Okay, I said that was the last question, but really what I want to know is what are your current graduation plans? How are you going to mark this milestone? You know, even though schools might be trying to put something together, you know, what is either your school doing, your family doing? Do you know what your plans will be to mark this moment in your lives?
Okay.
You know,
Go ahead, Troy. Go ahead.
are you sure? You can go.
Yeah. it's all good.
All right. I really don't know, to be honest. I mean, I know that my family will be here. Like, not my family from overseas, obviously, but just, you know, my family that's here. If quarantine's over by that point, then, you know, it won't just be my mom, my dad, and my sister. It'll be all my aunties and uncles that live here. And if quarantine isn't over, then it'll just be them, you know, and we'll just celebrate and, you know, click to walk across the stage. And I don't know.
How about you, Selah?
Yeah, so ours is probably, well, it definitely is canceled because school is also canceled. So probably like either a virtual thing or a drive-through graduation. I don't really know what's gonna happen with it, but I mean, I know I'll definitely celebrate with my family at the house. But I mean, for me,
Wait, what happened?
Troy is laughing at the drive-through. Yes, I've seen that. I've seen some drive-throughs.
Oh my goodness.
D's, but the D is for diploma.
Oh, like you're in your
D
car.
is for diploma.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
You're in your car. Man, that's
Yeah.
messed up.
Oh no.
Exactly. That's so sad.
That ain't right.
No, but I mean,
That's real.
like I know Troy was saying it's not as sad because we haven't had one, but for me,
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone to graduation every year since I was like a freshman, and I've always had friends who are seniors, and I've always seen that. I've always sung in the choir for graduation and whatever. So I mean, it is kind of like you wait and wait and wait to build up to this moment, and then it just doesn't happen, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you, man. Me too. Matthias, how about you? Have you heard or do you know what's happening?
I mean, at this rate, it sounds like graduation will happen. I don't even know. I was talking to the counselor who coordinates the graduation, and she was saying that they're hopeful we'll have a graduation. But I mean, it's all speculation right now. You never know.
Yeah,
It could.
yeah.
The quarantine could be back on tomorrow.
Right,
So,
right, yeah.
in terms of plans, like to celebrate it, me and my friends were going to Koh Samui in Thailand to a beach. But as of now, it's looking like that's a no-go due to
Yeah, all those senior trips.
which is so
yeah.
sad.
Senior trip. Oh
Everything's
my
been
gosh.
booked for senior trip. And
Yeah.
I was gonna be
Yeah,
so.
and you know the one thing we haven't talked about, you know, just the reality of you guys all being in international schools. So it is different than these schools who are local schools, whether it's in the U.S. or Canada or the UK or Hanoi. Just the fact that there is not the sense that, oh, we'll all see each other at Christmas and can do this. You know, for many of you, your classmates, this is the final goodbye before their family moves to the next country where they're posted, or this was a moment of closure that maybe you're not having. But I just want to thank you all for sharing your thoughts on this. I think it's going to be illuminating for parents and for teachers and just normal folks who are listening to this show. I think your generation, I think everyone's predicting you're going to be the ones who flip the switch and change the world, because you'll have gone through this in a way that nobody else has. So thank you. Keep your heads up. And we're very, very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Selah, Troy, and Matthias. Since we talked to them last week, all of them have decided where they're attending university. Troy is headed to Howard University, the real HU, in Washington, D.C. Matthias is headed to Boston to study at Northeastern University. And my baby girl is headed to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Go Heels! All right, folks, let's pivot and talk to another outstanding senior, Jaya Eskridge, who lives in Nashville, Tennessee. Jaya's had a similar but different experience than the three kids that we just talked to, and she's going to fill us in. So welcome, Jaya, to Uproot.
I'm Jaya Eskridge. I go to Stratford High School, and I live in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. And were you born and raised there? Is this a second home?
Yes.
Okay,
I've been here my entire life. Yeah.
Your entire life. Okay. Amazing. And so let's just start at the beginning. Some of the other kids that I've interviewed for the show, one of them lives actually in Vietnam. So he kind of talked about the early stages of the coronavirus developing in Asia and kind of how their school responded. The U.S., really, it's just been since March or so, mid-March, that this has been going down. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how Nashville has been responding to the virus. And then secondly, how your school life has changed as a result.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird because nobody really saw it coming.
Yeah.
Like we were in school one day and then we weren't in school the next day and we're just not going back. Which it's really interesting because it's like, I feel like a lot of other cities kind of worked up to it. Like they're like, okay, here's a warning. Like because my friend, she lives in a school district next to ours and like, they kind of had a warning. They're like, okay, here, just letting you guys know, there's a good chance we won't be back in school. I mean, and it's just so weird because I have pictures and videos on my phone of that day at school, just like a normal day. Nobody knew.
Wow.
It was, I want to say it was 2 days before spring break was supposed to start. So, it was kind of an exciting week at school. Things were like coming together. And then it was literally just like a normal video I would have took in class any day. And it's just so weird to look back at it because it's like, dang, like that was the last day of school.
What is the city doing right now? Like, what's your current, like here in Nairobi, we have a curfew. You have to be home at 7. You can go back out at 5 and you can't travel between counties. What about there in Nashville?
There's definitely a lot less structure. They tell you to stay in the house. We're on a stay-at-home order, but it's not like really enforced by anything.
Okay.
So people are definitely still leaving. They are like recommending 6 feet apart, masks, all of that. But there's no like curfew, none of that. Everything, all of the essential things are still open. Grocery stores, a couple other random stores, obviously. Parks are still open, but no playgrounds and stuff like that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so like you can go for walks and stuff like that. But there's nothing really being like super enforced, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about you as seniors because this whole conversation that I'm having is with seniors from different parts of the world. And for your school, or at least in our situation, we have had the option of online school. So I have younger kids, younger than my senior, who are pretty much straight away in class every morning at 8:00. They take roll, and it ends at 1, but they're online from 8 to 1 with a break for lunch. What's your learning situation? And then my senior has had some stuff, but then they'll finish next week. What about you? What's your class situation like, or has it been like?
So the first couple of weeks they were like sending out, because at that point, like we still thought we had exams, we still thought we had AP tests. So they weren't necessarily sending out classwork, but they were sending out like test prep. Some people still needed to take their ACTs, stuff like that. So they were sending out work that wasn't necessarily for a grade, but just to make sure that in the event that we did go back to school and have to take exams, AP tests, all of that we were semi-prepared or as prepared as we could possibly be without being in the classroom.
Okay.
But other than that, like I have not had to do any schoolwork, which is really bizarre.
Wow.
So they told us
so ahead because congratulations. I know you're the valedictorian of your class. Woo!
Thank you.
So proud of you. Is that because of you, Jaya, and you were ahead, or is that pretty much all your classmates in your senior class?
It's not necessarily being ahead. The only people that are having to do work are the people that were just behind. So pretty much if you were in decent standing, they lowered the credit requirement for this year. So typically you need 28 credits to graduate. I want to say they lowered it to 23 maybe.
Okay.
So you need 5 credits less.
I see.
So the only people who are in a situation where they absolutely have to complete schoolwork is people who are people who are doing credit recovery and trying to make sure that they are in good standing to graduate.
Okay.
So basically, if you went to class and you had your grades together and you passed all of your classes your whole time in high school, this last couple of weeks, you just don't have to. Yeah.
Wow. But that's kind of jarring for me, because I'm just thinking about how so much of the last part of senior year is like personal memories and time with friends and goofing off. So in the absence of like an organized way to do that, I know some of my daughter's teachers have had them just all on a Zoom call just to chat and check in. Has there been any of that, or it's just pretty much you've kind of had to fill your days with your own structure?
So at first we were all pretty good about it, because like especially in the beginning, like we could still go outside and do all of that. So I know like people were still doing things. But I know like every night my friends and I, there's an online card game that we play.
Yes.
So we all at 8:00, we all log on and play the card game. You know, staying in contact via social media and all of that. But it's definitely hard because you're not replacing things like prom. You're not replacing things like field day.
Yeah.
But we're still trying our best to make stuff like that work.
So how have you found creative ways to gather outside of like these online platforms? I know Scribble is big here. Do you know about Scribble?
No, it's not.
Okay, so that's what my daughter's playing with her friends. It's like a Pictionary kind of situation where everyone logs on. Somebody has to do the scribble and draw it, and there's a prompt. Anyway, check that out. Maybe you and your friends, maybe that'll take off at Nashville.
Literally last night we were like, we're so tired of this card game.
Okay, there you go. Scribble. But how about things like prom? Our prom was canceled. Did you dress up or wear your dress or anything on the day?
So I have my dress. I was going all out for prom, so like I couldn't go to my hair appointment, couldn't go get my nails done. So once quarantine is over, I'm definitely going to dress up, take pictures, still do all of that.
Okay.
We're talking about, you know, throwing a mini prom or something like that once all of this is over. So those experiences definitely won't be completely lost. We're going to try and find a way to recover them.
Yeah.
But
glad to hear that. So let me ask you, you know, you've talked a little bit about staying connected with friends. How are you staying positive? You seem I've just met you today for the first time. You seem to have such a strong, positive energy about you. Is this real, Dea? How are you keeping your head up?
I would be lying if I told you I was like this all of the time during this situation. But I mean, it'll all be over eventually. We don't know when eventually is, but I don't know. Just it'll be over soon, hopefully, and life will go back to normal.
Does it make it feel any more comforting knowing that millions of other seniors around the world are experiencing this with you, even if you don't?
Well, yeah, I have to remind myself, like, this is not just me. This affects everyone in the world in some way or another.
Yeah.
So I do have to remind myself, like, it is not just happening to me. It is happening to every senior. Other people are losing other important moments. So I do have to remind myself of that.
Yeah. Have they told you what's happening with graduation?
No, we will have an answer in a week from today is what they told us. So they said like by May 1st, so will be a decision. Who knows what that'll look like? We might have to get creative.
Are you working on your speech?
We have been told that our principal, I don't know if I need one. We'll see what happens. I think I have a lot of content because
you
of what's going on right now.
You definitely do.
Well, I don't think it'll be hard. I don't think it'll be hard to write one. I don't know what it'll look like though. Our principal has told us that he has a plan. He told teachers he has a plan. But nobody knows what it is.
Okay. Yeah, I think everyone's going to have to dig deep. But Nashville's a creative city. I feel like you guys, if anyone can get this, Nashville can. Sure. Yeah. So kind of as we wrap up, I want to ask you, what's the first thing you're going to do once this quarantine lifts? Have you given that any thought?
There's so many things. Everything.
All the things.
I don't know. I don't know. I want to buy some shoes. That sounds really fun.
Okay.
I don't know. I miss my friends a lot, so anything with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And have
I
you
don't
made
know.
your college plans?
Yes, so I'll be at Fisk, hopefully in the
All
fall.
right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
I hope that I'll get to start in the fall.
Yes.
We'll see what ends up happening, but I will be at Fisk.
Congratulations. Very, very
Thank
excited
you.
for you. Just a last question, just thinking about the fall and the next steps in your life, has this experience changed your outlook on the future?
I mean, definitely. It's hard for it not to. It's just, I mean, again, it's a really interesting time for everyone. I don't think anybody ever in their lives would be like, I'm going to go through this.
Right.
Like you just never imagine it. You hear stories, like even in history class, you hear stories about events like this happening, but you're just like, that's so far off. Like that would never happen. I mean, so we're living in history right now.
Yeah.
So it definitely will be interesting. It's definitely going to be a story to tell for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
yeah. I like how you frame that. It will be a story to tell. And it sounds like the story you're writing is one of a lot of hope, even in the middle of all this. And I'm so glad I got to talk to you. You are better in real life than even your Instagram. I mean, I didn't even know that was possible.
Thank you.
We are so proud of you as part of your extended community. We're looking at this class and these, beloved teens and seniors that we know with so much pride in our hearts. So keep your chin up. We're really proud of you. And I know the future right now is not so bright, but the future is.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with me, Jaya.
It's amazing how a continent apart, students' lives can parallel each other and at the same time be quite different. Thank you, Jaya, for letting us have a peek inside of your world and your work. And we are so excited for you and all the wonderful things that you will do at Fisk University. So while these 4 students are all completed their senior years, here in Kenya, the school year hasn't ended. And in fact, the calendar goes until November. So Hillary is a student here in Nairobi. He attends a school in a community not far from where I live, and he agreed to talk to me about what his experience has been learning online and what he's thinking about his future. So welcome Hillary to Uproot.
Hello.
Hi, Hillary. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm now at the...
You can hear me fine? Okay. So why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us your name and where you attend school.
Okay. My name is Hilary Mkabwa. I do live in Gashia. My school is Ihara High School. I'm a candidate, and this is my last year in high school.
So you're a candidate at the end of the year, is that right? To finish high school? Okay, so in Kenya, for the system that the government schools operate in, the last year of high school is called Form 4, and the school year runs from January to December. So how has COVID changed your school experience so far?
Okay, this COVID, OTK it has affected me in a negative way, especially academically. I had a lot of expectations, and I want to pursue my dreams and have a better tomorrow through education.
Right. So once the government closed the schools in mid-March, what happened to your school?
Okay, once the schools were suspended, we were forced to study at home because now you can't have that social distance with other people. So now I'm just doing my studies at home.
Okay.
But but now the studies at home, it doesn't have that big impact like the one in school.
Why? Tell me how you're studying at home. Are you taking lessons on the radio or on TV? I know the government has different options. What are you doing every day?
At home, I just have a few revision materials which I use for studies because I can't access the internet because the phone which I'm using, it doesn't allow.
Okay, so you don't have internet access. Are you using, you said you have revision materials. You brought those from school. Are they hard copies?
Yeah, I have few textbooks which were given in school.
Okay.
But there's some which are.
Okay. And are you taking any lessons on the radio or television? Are there classes like that for Form 4 students?
Maybe at radio.
You've tried the radio? How are those lessons?
Okay, the lessons at radio, what I can say is that they are good, but now I can't say that it has that impact like the one in school, because they miss some details they're not taught.
It's not as thorough or as complete as your classes were when you were on campus.
Okay, I don't listen to radio that frequently. Maybe at a time.
At the end of this year, you have an exam. Is that correct, Hillary?
Yes.
And this would be an exam that all Form 4 students take in Kenya.
Yeah.
Are you feeling prepared for that exam? How are you feeling right now?
Okay, right now, what I can say is that studies which I normally take and the knowledge which I have gotten from school, I'm expecting to get an average, above average marks.
Yeah. Are you feeling prepared? You're saying you're expecting above average marks. Are you able to maintain the same level of preparation at home?
Yeah. I can maintain, and right now what I can say is that I'm prepared.
You're prepared. Okay.
Yeah.
How are you staying prepared? Tell me what you're doing.
I have a schedule timetable which I take on daily basis.
You do? Okay, so can you give me an idea, like today is Wednesday. What have you done so far today?
Okay, today I've done business and chemistry.
Okay, and then tomorrow what will you cover?
Tomorrow I want to cover mathematics and geography.
Okay, so are you talking with your classmates somehow? Are you guys communicating and supporting each other?
Yeah, maybe when I can call her, then I can call them, then I just want to know how they are going with the studies at their home.
How often do you talk to your friends?
Hello?
How often do you talk?
Like 3 times.
3 times a day, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you using social media apps also to stay in touch with friends?
As in, I would like to use to access the internet frequently, but so that I can get more knowledge. But now, even the phone that I'm using, it has a problem.
So you don't have much internet access.
Yeah.
So what are you expecting from your teachers, for example? Have you heard from teachers in your school directly?
During this season or?
Yes, right. Yeah, since school has closed. Have you talked to your teachers?
Since the school was closed, yeah, they have been calling it. Sometimes then they communicate with the parents. Yeah, just advising them for us to be safe.
Okay. And how are you staying positive, Hillary? What are the things you're doing to just keep yourself encouraged and keep your mind off of all that's happening?
Okay, right now what I'm doing, I'm following the government rules and regulations which have been set. But at the time, it becomes very difficult because we find like we do live in a single room, 6 people.
Yeah.
Including my mom, my single parent.
Who's in your household with you? Your mom and you? Do you have siblings?
No, I'm the last born.
You're the last born, okay.
Yeah, but we do live with my nephews and my younger nephews and niece.
Okay. So how many are you in the house?
We are 7.
You're 7.
Yeah.
So is finding the space to study quietly, is that a challenge?
Yeah, now the space for studies, it becomes that hard. Yeah.
Has this experience changed how you think about the future?
Yeah, I'm thinking about my future because the circumstances that I undergo on daily basis makes me to study study very hard so that I can have a better tomorrow and even help my family and have that stable life.
What are you hoping for university? What are your plans right now, or what are you hoping for?
Okay, after I get that good grade, that part of to enroll to university.
Okay.
I want to pursue my career.
Okay. Do you know what kind of career you want to pursue?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you share with me?
Okay. I want to be an aeronautical engineer.
Aeronautical engineer.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. Wonderful. So a lot of science and math in your future.
Yeah.
You must be a good science and math student. Well, Hillary, thank you for telling me a little bit more about your life. After this interview, are you done for the day, or do you have more studying today?
Okay, just I have completed in the last lesson. I've just completed in past few minutes.
Okay, so you're almost done for the day.
Yeah. So until tomorrow.
Until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, I hope, Hillary, that in the next few weeks you'll have good news and maybe schools will open up. But I also hope for your future that all of your dreams and your hopes really come true.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for talking with me today.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Hillary, Jaya, Matthias, Troy, and Selah. And thank you to each of you teachers who are making sure that these students have what they need to continue learning and achieving the goals that they've set for themselves. And listeners, if you know a senior near you, reach out to them. These kids are brave and they're tenacious, but it's not easy to go through these losses. And so reach out, send them a shout, send them some cupcakes, something, Thanks for listening to Uproot, everyone. I am endeavoring to continue to make content that's relevant and helpful and inspiring during this time. And I hope that all of you are well and that you're taking care of each other. And I hope you'll keep listening. And most of all, I hope you'll keep at it until it becomes rooted. Talk to you soon.